Welcome back to Ballaholics. I'm your host, Sam Israel. We are joined by Ian Mills, number one Buffalo Bills fan. As you can see with the hat, put some respect in the Buffalo Bills.
Of
I don't know if
course.
I do, but that's a story for a different day. Anyway, for today's episode, there's a lot going on in sports. Obviously, we got to get to our reactions in March Madness. We will also touch on some QBs in the upcoming NFL draft. We will also discuss our NBA MVP predictions as of right now. But first, let's get to the NCAA. Let's get the March Madness. Gonzaga knocks down 11th seed UCLA. They are in a national championship game. And then they will be playing Baylor, who beat Houston. So it will be the Gonzaga versus Baylor matchup. Ian Mills, just take me through your reactions of March Madness so far and anything that's really stuck out to you so far in these March Madness games.
Well, being from upstate New York, I want to say upstate New York showed out during this tournament. Syracuse, Iona, in St. Bonaventure. Well, I guess they got eliminated in the first round, but regardless, so did Iona. But yeah, it was at least through the Sweet 16. It was kind of the tournament of the upsets, which was kind of great to see. Some people were complaining that like, oh, we want to see the best teams play. Well, they're all college teams. I think, like it doesn't. I don't think that matters so much. And then obviously, kind of we saw down the stretch the lower seeds kind of got put in their place outside of UCLA, who obviously did advance to the Final Four and put up a really good fight against Gonzaga. If not for a half court shot, pretty much a half court shot, they might be in the national championship. This tournament was really interesting, but really like when you look at it, like the real blue bloods of the NCAA, Kentucky, who obviously didn't make it, UNC eliminated in the first round, Duke, who didn't make it, Michigan State was eliminated in the first four. Like the team, when you think of college basketball, like those teams weren't here. And usually they are. Like Gonzaga, I guess the last 10 years or so, we've really kind of put more respect on their name. But when you think of Baylor, you don't really think of college basketball. When I think of Baylor, I think of RG3 from football. So it is definitely an interesting tournament. I think coming into the tournament, kind of everyone had Gonzaga as the best team. Obviously, they're undefeated, and Jalen Suggs is one of the best players in the country. And, they have obviously Mark Few never won a national championship. He's only been in the Final Four once before this year. Going into it, it was kind of like, oh, this might be Mark Few's only or best chance rather to get a national championship, just because the field wasn't nearly, as strong as it usually is, especially because teams weren't playing as many games. A lot of teams had to take months off or, a couple weeks off. And Gonzaga didn't. So I think, the narrative that began the tournament, which was, oh, it might be chaos and it's Gonzaga's best chance, came true. It was chaos through the first couple of rounds, and Gonzaga seriously will have their best chance ever to win a national championship. I don't think they're going to run away with it. I think Baylor has proven that they're an incredible team as well. They're a tall team and they can rebound probably better than most teams in the nation. But I do think Gonzaga is going to pull away with it.
That was a crazy game, the Gonzaga and UCLA game. But before I get to Gonzaga and Jalen Suggs being the real deal, I got to give props to UCLA. They had such an improbable journey. I personally had them out of the entire tournament in the round of 64 against BYU. Not only does UCLA make it to the Sweet 16, but they beat number 2 Alabama. They beat number 1 Michigan, which I actually had Michigan in my Final Four. So they beat all these crazy teams, and then they basically come up a Jalen Suggs half-court buzzer beater away from defeating a 30-0 historically amazing Gonzaga national college team and making it to the national championship game. I give Johnny Juzang so much props. His mid-range, his three-pointers, he was on point. I believe he had 29 points in that last game. He had 29 points in that last game, 6 rebounds and 2 assists. He was absolutely sensational. And he also has a chance to be the first Asian American drafted in the first round in the NBA, which would be truly really cool accolade. It'd be a really cool achievement. And it was a crazy game. That game was going back and forth. I thought Juzang had a chance to ice the game late in the fourth quarter, but he ended up driving and he got the charge called on him, which it was a good call by the refs. I would have liked to see Juzang go for the mid-range or 3-point line because that's where he was really, lighting it up for UCLA. But they go to overtime, and then they're down like 85-90 to Gonzaga in the final minute of the game, and they basically crawl their way back. It's 90-90, and then of course Jalen Suggs happens. Jalen Suggs, low behind the three-point line, as you said. It was basically a half-court heave, but he pulls up Jalen Suggs. He's cool. He's poised. He's cool, calm, collected. He just drains the shot. And if you're an NBA scout and you see Jalen Suggs do that, that's a major signal to you, because a lot of the time, these college players, or just even NBA players, statistics are measurable. You can measure points, you can measure assists, you can measure rebounds, you can measure all these stats. But it's very difficult a lot of the time to measure clutchness and how clutch a player can be. Now, for Jalen Suggs to hit that shot, we've seen shots hit like this in the NCAA tournament before, but we really haven't seen these shots hit by like these top NBA lottery picks that are going to go on into the NBA. And someone like a Jalen Suggs, not only is this guy a phenomenal playmaker, we saw it with that bounce pass, not only is he a terrific defender, which you saw with his block in that game, but this man can also have the poise to pull up from half court and just hit, a buzzer beater on UCLA, 93-90. The game's over in overtime. They're going to the national championship game. And like you said, Ian, I have Gonzaga winning. I had them picked in my bracket, 30-0. They have a chance to go undefeated and be one of the greatest, historically greatest, college teams we've ever seen in recent history. So I expect them to be led by Jalen Suggs. He's a real deal. He is big time. And I'm expecting big things out of this game against Baylor. I'm very excited to see how this matchup goes down.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it, to watch it tonight. Very hyped for that. And it's just like this March Madness really reminded me of like how much we missed college basketball last year. Like, obviously there was the regular season and then some of the conference tournaments last year, but like there legitimately may not be like a better sports playoff than March Madness, just because it really is like anything can happen. Like, as soon as you think something's gonna happen, the opposite happens, which makes you think, hey, maybe Baylor's gonna win it. Who knows?
Especially this tournament too, Ian. This is crazy. Syracuse and UCLA. I usually pick Syracuse, but Oral Roberts too. Ian, come on.
Like Colgate in the first round, another upstate team. Well, you can argue if that's upstate or not, but regardless, they almost beat Arkansas. Sam, do me a favor. How many teams do you think Colgate played in the regular season and in their conference tournament? So before the NCAA tournament, how many teams do you think Colgate played? Yeah, like
I'm listening.
I'm guessing. I'm asking you, how many teams do you think they played?
I have no idea. Like 10?
They played 4 teams.
4 teams.
They played a total of 4 teams. Army, Boston University. I don't even remember the last 2, but
Binghamton? No, I'm kidding.
No, they did not play Binghamton. They would have smoked Binghamton.
Take it easy on us. Take it easy on Binghamton.
I wish I could.
Hold up. No. Hold up, actually. I have a problem with that. You got to put Ian Mills. You must put some respect on the Binghamton Bearcats name. Ian Mills, did you realize that Binghamton lost to Hartford? Hartford went on to win the entire America East Championship. And then Hartford, the only reason why Hartford lost is because they lost to number 1 seed Baylor. And number 1 seed Baylor right now is in the national championship game. So Ian Mills, tell me this. If Baylor beats Gonzaga, that means Binghamton would have lost to the team that won the entire national championship.
That is a Bikram yoga type stretch right there. That is incredible. That's impressive how you stretched that out. Binghamton won like 5 games this year. I'm not putting any respect on their names. I love the team. I love watching the team. I believe in Level Sanders. I think they could be good next year, but they were not good this year. That's basically my point. So, and they haven't been good, for some time now.
Ian, I just. I'm a suffering Knicks fan and I'm a suffering Bearcats fan sometimes.
The Knicks are good now. It's not even suffering.
I just drew the parallel because it reminded me, I'm a suffering Knicks fan. I gotta be a suffering Bearcats fan.
Because you're not a suffering Knicks fan. You're gotta be a suffering Binghamton fan.
But what I was trying to get to, Ian, when I said suffering Knicks fan, is listen, we made a promise. I
have a fire alarm going off.
Oh, is that your excuse?
Yeah.
You're trying to get out wearing a Knicks jersey. All right, I'll pause the recording. All right, guys, we have Ian Mills who is back from his fire alarm. Ian, any words for our viewers on your safety?
Well, first off, I apologize for that inconvenience to our listeners, to our viewers. But yeah, I'm okay. It was a false alarm, just a bit of a trick by the university to get me outside in this great weather. So
Trying to get us to stop our episode.
yeah,
Haters.
praying on our
Or you know what I think, Ian? I think I was just because we were in the middle. I was reminding you of your bet that you bet in February that
I
you
don't
would wear
believe
a
you
Knicks
were.
jersey. We made a bet that you were going to wear the Knicks jersey, and as soon as I was about to call you out on it, mysteriously
That's interesting.
the fire alarm goes off.
It's interesting.
I don't know, man. A little bit of a coincidence there, if you ask me.
Pretty interesting, Sam. Pretty interesting.
Definitely. But yeah, that's what we got for college basketball. And we looks like we veered off a little bit talking about the Knicks, as we always do, because I'm a suffering Knicks fan and Ian Mills is a suffering Bills fan. Not really. We're both not suffering anymore, but
Really suffering, yeah.
that's besides the point. Ian Mills, let's switch gears. Let's get to the NBA. Let's make our NBA MVP predictions if the season ended today. The floor is all yours.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, the season this year is a little awkward for MVPs because Giannis would be his third if they've gone, and we don't usually see people or players get 3 straight MVPs without any really playoff success. LeBron at one point was somewhat of a favorite, and obviously he has not played, and neither has AD, so that kind of knocks them out. And James Harden, again, another player that we look at as, definitely maybe not a favorite coming into the season, but at this point has played well enough to be considered maybe a top 5 candidate in the MVP race. That being said, though, he is on maybe the most stacked team we've ever seen, at least in recent history. Maybe outside of the Warriors with KD, Clay, and Steph. So just because of that, I look at kind of like the rest of the favorites, and I think Nikola Jokic is starting. He's beginning to run away with it a little bit. I mean, the Nuggets are the 2 seed in the West. He's not on a stacked team. He's number 1 in player efficiency rating. He's damn near averaging a triple-double while averaging 26 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. I mean, and he's shooting over 50% and over 40% from 3. Like, there's not much more you can ask of him, especially if they were like the 6 seed, maybe it'd be a different story. But right now, they're the 2 seed. Right, really, the only team that's above them right now is the Utah Jazz. And with the Jazz, I think to pick a one clear outright player from that team it's just more interesting. To pick Jokic. So for me right now, it's Jokic. That could certainly change. There's still a lot of season left to be played. But right now, Nikola Jokic, specifically because maybe just a lot of other guys have been eliminated for other reasons.
I saw just real quick. I double checked earlier, so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw the Nuggets as the 4th seed in the West right now. We got to double check. I thought I saw it was the now I'm blanking. The Jazz. It was the Suns, then the Clippers, and then the Nuggets. I could be wrong.
Oh, you might be right.
Yeah. So we got to double check there.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. They're a game back in the third. I'm still going with Jokic. Still I mean,
Jokic, the Joker.
That doesn't really change it. I still think they're one of the best teams in the NBA, especially because when you look at the rest of those teams, they have kind of a bit of a stacked roster, whereas the Nuggets really don't.
Okay. Here's where I come in. Here's where we get the experts in here. So listen, Ian Mills. So you didn't do this, so that's fine. But there's some people that I know, and they say the MVP is going to be, LeBron James, or it should be Kawhi Leonard, or it should be, Durant, or it could be Harden, because these players, they perform in the playoffs besides the regular season, and the MVP should be, your most valuable player. It should also encompass the playoffs. But Ian Mills, listen, I'm a law major now. I'm a double major. I'm accounting and I'm business law. I'm not business law. I apologize. I'm in a business law class. But anyway. One of the main things you do in business law, you ready for this, Ian? You ready for this? I'm going to shed some insight.
Okay, so there's a big difference between majoring in something and taking a class, but I'm sorry, continue.
Okay. Taking a class in business law, I'm a double major accounting and PPL, politics, philosophy, and law. It's like the prerequisite to law school. But what you do in this business law class is you have to look, when you're analyzing a law, you look at the exact written words. So I'm going to look at the exact written description of what the NBA regular season MVP is. You ready for this, Ian? Here we go. The MVP is an annual National Basketball Association award given to the best performing player. You ready for this, Ian? In the regular season. Okay? In the regular season. You didn't fall for it, but people do that, and it really annoys me. So when I'm looking at the MVP, it's the best player with the best team in the regular season. What is the best team in the NBA right now, record-wise? I'm looking at the explicit record. It's the Utah Jazz. 38-11. They're on a 9-game winning streak. Put some respect on their name. They're ahead of the Phoenix Suns and Devin Booker. They're ahead of the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. They're ahead of the Nuggets and Nikola Jokic. They're ahead of the Nets. They're ahead of all these teams. So they have the best record in the NBA this season. And now who's the best player on the Utah Jazz? That would be Donovan Mitchell, my friend. Averaging 26 points and 6 assists. He's having a career year. He is shooting the lights out from the three-point line. He's averaging 40% from the three-point line. Who else is helping Donovan Mitchell? Does he have other major contributors? Well, sure. Rudy Gobert is a great player. And Michael Conley is another great player. Joe Ingles is a well-built team. But the other common answer to this MVP question is James Harden. And my problem with James Harden is, obviously, I know Kevin Durant hasn't been playing in recent games. You still have Kyrie Irving. You still have, now Blake Griffin, Marcus Aldridge. The rich get richer with those acquisitions. Then you have, DeAndre Jordan, who these 5 players, they've been named an all-star 5 times in their career. So you have a loaded roster. So when I look at MVP, Donovan Mitchell has a better team. He has less help around him, and he's a major contributor on that team. So the reason why we don't talk about Donovan Mitchell and we talk about James Harden is because us human beings, we love stories, Ian. We love to be enchanted with stories. We love the idea that James Harden is the MVP because he came into the league, came in this season 40 pounds above what he's supposed to be, requested a trade out of Houston. He said he wants out. They traded him to Brooklyn, and he's been absolutely balling out in Brooklyn. We love that story, but we got to give respect to where respect is due, and that is in Salt Lake City, not in Brooklyn. The small market team that never gets love, Utah Jazz, it's Donovan Mitchell. And listen, Donovan Mitchell, last thing here, and then I will pass it back to Ian Mills. If you want more respect, Donovan Mitchell, in the conversation for MVP, you're in a small market right now. You're in the mountains of Utah. You need to go to a big market where the spotlight can be shined upon you whenever you want it to. And you know where that is? It's not Brooklyn. That would be my New York Knicks. You're a native. I know you're a New York native, Donovan Mitchell. You grew up being a Mets fan. This is your chance. Take the love. We love you in New York. Come with Julius Randle. Come with Emmanuel Quickly. Come with RJ Barrett. Be a New York Knick. But first, win the regular season MVP. Thank you. Thank you.
The Knicks tangent, just obnoxious. But Donovan Mitchell is having a fine, he's having a good year. Okay. But he was the second to last All-Star pick. He was
disrespectful.
What's that?
And that's disrespectful. And I explained why. I explained why. He's in a small market team in Utah. There's no story. There's no narrative. He's just balling. He's just balling. There's no story. He didn't leave Houston. He didn't say, I don't like my teammates. It's not going to work here. And then request a trade and be all cool and go to Brooklyn and join up with, the other 2 superstars, Kyrie and KD, and form a super team. He didn't do that. He just said, I'm just going to ball right where I am. I don't care about having to join a super team in a big time market. I can stay in a small time market and just do my, ball out with this well-constructed team. And I'll get my love. I'll get my respect.
Donovan Mitchell is averaging less in every stat than Nikola Jokic is. In points, in steals, blocks, rebounds, he's averaging half as many. Assists, damn near half as many. Field goal percentage, 10% less. 3-point percentage, 2% less. Not a huge drop off there. And yeah, he's beating him in wins. But honestly, say that again.
Say it a little louder. Just a little louder.
He has a couple more wins in him.
A couple more
right now.
I'm
he also has another All-Star. I think like Donovan Mitchell is a good player. I think the Jazz are a great team. I don't think they'll go very far in the playoffs. I don't think they'll make the finals. And that doesn't necessarily matter because obviously this is a regular season.
Regular season
Even
MVP. That's what I'm saying. See,
if you look at regular season statistics, he's like maybe top 10 MVP right now. Like he's I looked up the MVP odds right now, like earlier before we started recording this. And as of March 29th, he was 10th at plus 9,000. You know what that means, Sams? If you bet $10 on Donovan Mitchell right now to win MVP, you win $900. $900.
Ian Mills, should I make the
Probably
bet?
not. You'd be wasting $10. You'd be
Really, you're saying don't invest,
$10.
but you're the same person that said to invest in the Bills over the Chiefs back in February or January. So
I said to invest in the Bills long term, which is true. You should invest in the Bills.
And then they fell. The stock fell a little bit there. But also,
that's when you buy.
Let me bring up another point that you brought up. You said that the Jazz have more wins, a couple of more wins than the Nuggets. So Ian Mills, do you know how much a couple more wins is? You know how much more wins the Jazz have over the Nuggets right now?
7.
Okay, 7 wins. So the first seed is, right? The best record in the NBA, that's the Jazz. Okay. And then the fourth best team in the Western Conference, not the entire NBA, just the Western Conference, is the Nuggets. So he has a substantially better roster, better standings right now in the Utah Jazz.
Oh, you said better roster. That's interesting.
Donovan Mitchell. It's all better roster. I mean, the Nuggets have Jamal Murray. They have Aaron Gordon.
I'm just saying that's what you. I'm just repeating what you said. I'm just saying that's what you just said.
What did I just say?
Regardless, even if they had like equal rosters right now, and we can argue about that if you really wanted to, but even if they had the exact same rosters right now, Nikola Jokic is outplaying Donovan Mitchell in literally every single statistic.
Really?
Every single statistic.
Really?
Yes.
And how's the record show for that? How's the record show for that? That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm saying.
Technically speaking, yeah, the Nuggets don't have as many wins as the Jazz, but statistically speaking, Donovan Mitchell is not playing as well as and sure, I know stats aren't everything, obviously, but even in player efficiency rating, Jokic is beating Mitchell by quite a bit.
Okay. Here's what I will say, and then we can go on to your NFL segment. But I will concede it would be cool to see an big man win the MVP award. That hasn't been done in a very long time, especially in today's landscape with the NBA evolving to more of a perimeter-oriented game with, the Steph Currys of the world and the Klay Thompsons of the world and those perimeter shooters. It would be cool to see a big man win it. I just think this year we got it. People aren't talking enough about Donovan Mitchell. If it's Nikola Jokic, fine. As long as it's not James Harden. It should be Donovan Mitchell or Nikola Jokic. But in my book, it is Donovan Mitchell, the New Yorker.
His dad was a scout for the Mets, I believe.
For who?
I believe his dad was a scout for the Mets back in the day.
Yeah. And the only tough thing obviously also is I believe he's from Westchester, so that is upstate New York, but it's okay. He's still New York. It still works.
Upstate does not claim Westchester, but
we'll live with it. Look, Long Island, New York City, we don't claim him either, so we're good with that.
New York State doesn't claim Long Island, but again, I digress.
I digress, Ian. That's right. All right, let's get to our last segment here. Let's talk about the upcoming NBA draft. We have, a great crop of upcoming future quarterbacks that are waiting to be drafted. Ian Mills, I want to hear your rankings for the QBs and who really sticks out to you in this bunch of QBs.
Yeah, of course. I think when you look at the top 5, I mean, this quarterback draft or quarterback class rather is like one of the most, I want to say stacked, but interesting in history, just because there very well maybe 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. A couple years ago with the Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Rosen draft, we saw 5 drafted in the first round. And Mason Rudolph very well could have been drafted in the first round. He probably would have been considered a bust at this point, but talks were made about that. I think there could be 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. I expect Trevor Lawrence to go 1. I don't think that's a surprise, and I think he should go number 1. When you look at the next people, it looks like Zach Wilson has taken a substantial lead over Justin Fields at this point for the number 2 spot. I think that's fair. I don't think Zach Wilson is leagues better than Justin Fields by any means. I think Justin Fields has kind of taken a hit for really no reason other than going to Ohio State, which has had a rough quarterback class in previous years. Obviously, with Dwayne Haskins this past year, who basically he's not out of the league, but was cut before his second year was over, which we very rarely see. But so if I think you can pretty much interchange Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. I'm going to give Zach Wilson a slight advantage just because of the physical advantage. On top of that, so when you look at 4, I'm really, really kind of confused why anyone is putting Mac Jones ahead of Trey Lance. Like, yeah, Trey Lance went to North Dakota State. He didn't play this past year. Again, not his fault. That's just because COVID pushed their season back to spring because he was in the FCS rather than FBS. I don't think Mac Jones is like a bad prospect. I just think like his ceiling isn't close to what Trey Lance is. Trey Lance's ceiling is like Josh Allen, but like faster. You know what I mean? Obviously, again, that's his ceiling. Like we've said this about a bunch of players in the past, but if you look at the past couple drafts in quarterbacks, right, like the physical specimens, like Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, who were seen as project players, and even Justin Herbert a little bit was kind of considered a project. They panned out. They have panned out up to this point. So because of that, I think Trey Lance should go ahead of Mac Jones. Will he? I don't know. People are saying Mac Jones is going to go over Justin Fields, which I think is crazy, but that is what it is. I think Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M has a chance to be above Mac Jones. Coming out of the season, I was actually high on Mac Jones, like pretty high. Like I thought he was comfortably going to be an okay quarterback in the NFL, probably the 5th off the board, but people are kind of moving him up to like 3rd, potentially 2nd. I think that's bizarre. I think to put him anywhere ahead of Trey Lance is crazy. To put Trey Lance above Justin Fields again, I think is a little, I mean, it depends on really the team you're looking at. Like the Jets draft Trey Lance, right? I think that's a mistake. Trey Lance is, for all intents and purposes at this point, is mostly kind of a project, right? And the Jets, I don't think can withstand that. I don't think the Jets have the capacity, as we saw with Sam Darnold. I don't think they have the capacity to draft a quarterback who isn't ready to play. So I don't think they'll draft him either way. So this I'm excited to actually see how many end up going, because you probably get the first 3 picks, right? Probably first 3 picks in the Jags going to go with Lawrence, probably Jets with Zach Wilson, and then 3rd, probably Justin Fields at the Niners. And it's kind of a crapshoot after that. I would think the Panthers will take 1 to 8 if they don't trade up. Dolphins probably won't. Bengals obviously won't. So down the stretch, I wonder if teams in the later rounds will end up picking one. I wonder if the Saints will probably trade up and potentially grab one because they only have Jameis Winston on a 1-year deal, but their roster kind of has a lot of holes after the whole cap space issue. So, we will see obviously when it happens, but right now I would go Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Lance, and then Mac Jones.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I do agree with you. I think Trevor Lawrence is ultimately going to go number 1. And look, Justin Fields got me a little nervous in that national championship game against Alabama. But again, it's Alabama. So
yeah, but he was injured. He had like broken.
He was injured. So you take that into consideration. But we'll see what happens with the NFL draft. We'll definitely do more episodes on the NFL draft with the NFL draft, coming up upon us. So we will see on that, and appreciate you guys tuning in. Ian Mills, can you show the viewers your shirt, by the way? I just noticed your shirt. I just want you to got the Blue Jays. He's repping, Toronto.
Yeah. Won the first series of the season against the Yankees.
Stop.
Beat Garrett Cole in game 1.
We'll see.
Beat Garrett Cole in game 1. That's pretty interesting.
We'll see you in the playoffs. We'll see you in the playoffs.
Well, that's if the Yankees get there. We don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, you don't know about the Yankees. Well, we'll see about that. I'm not too worried about like any Yankee player being the MVP because it's a regular season award. I'm focused on the playoffs. I'm focused on the chips. So I'll see you in the playoffs if you can make it. If the Blue Jays can make it. But that's a story for a different day. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We will tune out, and we're signing off. We'll see you guys for next episode.
Have a good one, guys.